Hello dear friends. Will Diep and Nhi be accepted by Jame's family? Will the woman and her unfortunate daughter have a happy life at CEO Jame's house? Or will she continue with Jame but return to the thatched roof house under construction? Can you guess what situation God will put them in? Let's continue with this story. Diep was a humble woman, living quietly with calloused hands from years of hard labor. But her heart was soft and full of kindness. She had never been to school, never learned to write her full name. But she never felt ashamed of that. To her, kindness and compassion were worth far more than education or wealth. Her life changed the day she took in Nhi, a sweet, orphaned little girl with bright eyes and a gentle spirit. Though not related by blood, Diep loved Nhi as her own, shielding her from the world, teaching her right from wrong, and hoping to give her the childhood she never had. They lived in a small, run-down house. Life was modest, often difficult, but filled with laughter, especially when Nhi came home from school, bringing joy and stories that warmed Diep's heart. Everything began to change when James, a young CEO from a wealthy family, entered their lives. He wasn't drawn to Diep for her looks or status, she had neither. What captivated him was her quiet strength, her unwavering love for Nhi, and her dignified humility. Silently, without grand gestures, James began to help. He sent construction materials to repair her home. And one day, a company assistant named Lynn arrived with official documents. It was the deed to a piece of land, a farm. A new beginning. Diep was overwhelmed. Lynn kindly asked her to sign her name. But she hesitated. She had never written it before. Her hands trembled as she held the pen. Lynn noticed and guided her. Patiently, without judgment. Slowly, she wrote her name. The letters were shaky, uncertain. But that single signature marked a turning point. For the first time, she owned something. For the first time, she had a place to call her own. The farm was small but full of promise. Fruit trees, fields, she could grow things, harvest them, sell them. Lynn explained that James's company would buy all the produce from her. He even offered to teach her how to care for the trees, how to spray, fertilize, and harvest. She didn't have to worry about selling. All she needed to do was care for the land like she always cared for people, with love. Nhi began settling into her new school quickly. She made friends, came home with good student certificates, and her cheeks flushed with pride each time she showed them to her mother. James often picked her up from school when Diep was busy. He would gently ask her about her day, tell her stories, and even promise bedtime songs if she promised to sing for Diep in return. In those small, quiet moments between the three of them, a new kind of family was forming, not by blood, but by choice and devotion. But not everyone approved. One afternoon, James's grandfather called his grandmother, his voice filled with anger. He could not accept James marrying a woman who had once been married, and now raising a child that wasn't even her own. "I can't accept it," he said firmly. "She's bringing a child into the family like it's nothing." His wife tried to reason with him. She spoke calmly about Diep's kindness, about how well she cared for Nhi, and how James had already accepted both of them. But the old man wouldn't budge. "If you can't talk sense into him," he snapped, "then I'll come back to Vietnam myself and teach him." The call ended tensely. Yet despite the resistance, his grandmother stayed silent, and stayed supportive. That evening, Diep and James returned from the forest carrying fresh bamboo shoots. They planned to cook a simple meal. Unexpectedly, James's grandmother arrived with bags full of gifts for Nhi: milk, books, toys, colorful pens. Nhi squealed with delight. The old woman knelt down, hugged the little girl, and said gently, "If you behave and do well, every time I visit, I'll bring you more." For the first time, Diep saw warmth in the grandmother's eyes, not pity, not obligation, but genuine affection. Dinner was cooked outdoors under the open sky. The sunset bathed everything in gold. The meal was simple: bamboo shoot soup, white rice, some garden greens, but the atmosphere was richer than any banquet. They all sat together, Diep, James, Nhi, and the grandmother. Nhi chattered about school. James scooped more soup into Diep's bowl. The grandmother smiled, stroking Nhi's hair. In that moment, Diep knew she was no longer alone. She didn't need lavish promises or a big wedding. She had a family, perhaps not fully accepted yet, but slowly, steadily, being embraced. She had chosen a path that was never easy. A woman with no name, no title, no education, just a heart full of goodness. But it was that very heart that softened those around her. She had given Nhi a home. And now, through her quiet courage, she had carved out a place for both of them in a world that had long ignored people like her. James stood by her through it all, facing tradition and family expectations head on, not backing down. And slowly, the walls began to crumble. The grandmother's presence that evening wasn't just a visit, it was a sign that maybe, just maybe, the family would come to see what James already knew, that Diep and Nhi belonged there, in that slowly repaired house, surrounded by laughter, bamboo shoots, and love. Something beautiful bloomed. A family, not perfect, not traditional, but real. Built not on blood, but on kindness. Not on expectations, but on acceptance. And that made all the difference. A home is not made of walls, but of hearts that beat for one another.